Searing high gain, glassy, clangy low gain, everything in between from distortion to fuzz. This week on Boring Gear Reviews, we have the Altar from Lichtlaerm Audio. Huge thanks and shout out to Daniel from Lichtlaerm for sending me the Altar. So at its core, this thing is based on a Black Russian Big Muff, but it really kind of runs the gamut of all types of distortion. So let's dive into the controls. Up top, we have a 3-band EQ. First up, we have bass, and this will control our low-end EQ. Next, we have mids, which will control our mids, and then high to control our treble frequencies. This is an active EQ, and each control will cut or boost 18 dB. Boost will control the level of the boost circuit when it's engaged with the bottom foot switch. Next up, we have gain, and this will control the amount of distortion in the pedal while it's on. And then next, we have level, which will control the output of the pedal while it's on. Now, if we go back to the boost control, this can be used independently, which is rad, and it has 36 dB of push. And this is also married to the grind control. Grind control basically shapes the EQ at a very specific curve, and it really gets you into kind of think more like brutal chainsaw HM2 type territory. But it adds like a ton of clang, and it kind of makes everything sound a bit more brutal. Next, we have depth, and this will control the characteristic of the saturation. So you can go from very tight to really thick and fuzzy. And then we have our comp knob. This completely changes the gain structure, dynamic structure. This is where you can really take things from, super aggressive big muff or thick big muff through every type of distortion. If you want metal or blues or rock or clangy indie stuff, it does everything with that comp control. And for today's demo, I'll be using my 2024 Abernethy Sonic Empress Standard, and this has Gemini pickups. I have a D-Armond in the neck and a Mercury one in the bridge. As always, from there, we're running into my Universal Audio Apollo X6 interface, and then using the Softtube JMP 2203 amp plugin. All right, so for this first clip, we're going for a very low gain tone. Here are my settings. Obviously, I just mentioned it, but something I really love about this pedal is that you can use the boost independently. So essentially, we have 3 gain stages. We can use just the boost, just the standard pedal, or then combine them. And you'll hear how they all sound very different. The way I have it set is a lot of clang, a lot of glass, and just enough grit that it couldn't possibly be a clean tone. And then when both channels or both sides are on together, it's definitely distorted, but it stays very kind of bell-like, and you really hear the natural characteristics of the guitar. It's a sick sound. Enjoy. right, next up we have a high gain distortion. And you can pause for settings. So here we get a thick and aggressive distortion. So when we start with just the distortion circuit, it's super heavy, very thick, still manages to be very articulate and punchy. And then we'll rock just the boost. Unbelievably cool sound, really gritty, very, very kind of open, and transparent's not the correct word here, but like it does have that vibe, that feeling. And then when we put both sides of the pedal on, it's rad, really in your face and aggressive. The way that this pedal really kind of cuts through, constantly getting like people asking about which pedals can cut through the mix. There's no chance you wouldn't be able to cut through the mix with this. The way the high end, what's really cool is like the high end will cut through, but it doesn't get like, it doesn't have that piercing or shrill sound. It's really balanced quite well. And lastly, we're going to dip into that black Russian muff sound. Here are my settings. And that will be going into the Black Skycraft Lost Media. I've done a full demo of this delay, killer delay. You can check that out by the link up there. And then rounding out the chain will be the Maris Mercury 7 for a big kind of hall reverb. This is a really good example of how much that comp control changes the sound of this pedal. So we get these searing high notes, big, thick, fuzzy, low chords and stuff. It's outstanding. When I turn off the modulation pedals at the end and it's just the altar, really aggressive, grindy, in your face, thick, it's all of the stuff you want from like a high gain distortion. And that'll do it for the altar. You know, before Daniel and I ever linked up, people would constantly tell me, like, oh, you got to check out his pedals. You got to do stuff with him. He makes the sickest pedals. They were not wrong. I recently did his Nostalgia pedal, which is an amazing lo-fi modulation pedal. And now with the altar, you know, top-notch stuff. Spoiler alert, I might have another Lichtlaerm video coming soon. So if you want to see that, don't forget to hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss out on that. Links for everything I'm using are in the description below, along with my Bandcamp where you can find all of this music and all the music for every demo I've ever done. Links for everything else is all down there. Don't forget to check that out and show some of these amazing builders love on Instagram and YouTube and etc. I truly appreciate all the support. We're just a few subscribers away from 4,000. That's huge for me. Thank you so much. And until next time, peace.